I think in the last 10 years they've definitely proved that these bulls are bred to buck. You can definitely tell in their bucking style of which bulls they're out of, and how much that the breeding, how important it is. Today, we've come up here to view some of the cows that we've actually hand-selected for our flush. We're gonna go inside, visit with Dr. Barker a little bit about what goes on and how that process of this flush is gonna work. The cow with the big horns there, number 30, cow is over 14 years old. That cow will be crossed with a bull named Asteroid, reigning world champion bucking bull. The cow to her right with one horn there, she's raised two of the best fertility calves that we've had. That cow will be crossed with last year's world champion bucking bull, Bushwhacker. The cow on the back there with the crooked horns, that is actually Playgun's mother. And that cow will be crossed with last year's world champion ABBI classic bull, Shepherd Hills Tested.
From, natural beginnings, just natural reproduction was the way everyone was used to, until artificial insemination came along, which drastically changed the face of reproduction for many species. Give the ability for people to mate or breed or reproduce livestock on their farm with animals from other states or other countries across thousands of miles. Also be able to reproduce with animals that they would not be able to afford the animal live, where they could purchase semen or out of that bull to bring back to their own herd and change the genetics or the dynamics of theirs. Flushing takes that one step further to where you can take your best dams or your best cows in your herd and multiply them multiple times to, say, you had a 50 cow set, rather than naturally breeding or artificially breeding those 50 cows. You could take your top 3 or 4 cows, reproduce them multiple times, and allow those other 45 to 47 cows to carry the embryos or carry the calves as surrogates of those 3 to 5 best cows. So you've then taken your odds of producing higher quality stock and drastically increase that. The different portions or different areas that you've got to include in the flushing process are obviously the bull for the semen, and that selection is based off of the genetics of the cow or the genetics you're trying to bring back into your herd that best match her. The donor cow, which should be one of the better cows you have as far as genetic reproduction, and then the surrogates can be a variety. They can be cows you already have, they can be stock cows, just beef cows with no known genetics to them, but things that you want to look for in a good recipient are age, as far as reproduction goes, they're sound milker, they're sound footed, and in good health, and those will all be good potential recipient cows for receiving the embryos from the donor. To summarize the flushing process, we're taking semen from a known bull and inseminating a selected donor cow for the collection of an embryo 7 days later. That embryo is flushed from the donor cow and then inserted into a recipient cow that has been prepared to cycle and be at the same stage of estrus as the donor cow with a conceived embryo for future calving. There's obviously significant financial risk involved in the flushing process just due to success of the flush itself. Anytime you're controlling biologics, there's a chance of failure as far as trying to harness Mother Nature and make her work in your favor. The flush process itself, set up through the flush, it'll run anywhere from, say, $800 to over $2,000 depending on the quality of flush. Semen cost will range anywhere from $20 to $7,000 to $8,000 per straw. on instances with some of the bucking stock and the rarity of some of those bulls and semen, the expense of the semen actually rises dramatically in those instances. And when you're taking into consideration the nature of the cow and her adapting to the environment and settling and being reproductive, which will be the first thing they'll shut off under a stress situation, there's a risk involved with having success in that process.
Says how much weight's in that chute. The bull weighs 2,334 pounds. This bull is definitely beef.
The difference in collecting him and doing a semen evaluation prior to the turnout on cows, the difference is they'll have a thermal protected cone, whereas this is just open air. They have a thermal protected cone or sleeve that they'll catch that into. And they'll immediately take it into a diluent, and they'll dilute that semen out to the levels they want based off the concentration they've determined that the semen is, to then put into straws to freeze, and then they thaw it to see that it survives the freeze-thaw process and is able to be marketed for usable artificial semen.
Right now we're just pretty much ejaculating the bull just to go view the semen.
Yes. This bull will be a herd bull. He's used to clean up cows in the pasture.
As you can tell, with the controllers he's got down here, it seems to be in the same rhythm as the bull is moving.
You want to do it as soon as possible to better assess the motility and morphology. And this first scope is just a standard light microscope that we use to do motility. And as you can see there, he would score an excellent on motility. It's very similar to swirling beach sand.
That's my first view, so I don't have nothing to compare it against.
Nothing to compare it to. The next side is a streaked slide. The second microscope's a phase contrast. The cells, this phase contrast allows you to look at it without the stain, so it's kind of makes it a lot cleaner process. And you can see on this one, you're freezing or killing the cells so that they're non-motile, so you can better assess them. And you've kind of got to alter your focus a little bit from time to time just to be able to see them, but you can see there.
So right now you're just looking at that they're not moving and they're completely with tails, or what do you?
You're looking at they've got a normal head, it's non-blunted, the tail's attached properly, curls around appropriately, but not curled but straight. That there's no drop, it's proximal or distal, that would indicate that it's going to drop off from the tail from the head at some point, and that they're functional reproductive semen cells.
Perfect. Now these calves, of course, none of them match in looks. I mean, they're actually being almost like an adopted.
Right. They're more or less, for instance, this cow is a surrogate mother to one of the bucking calves. Obviously a beef cow, and this black calf standing here to the right of her is her surrogate calf or ET calf.
The days these calves are born, you just ear tag them. I mean, I guess to
yes,
pair them up.
They're tagged, and the way we do our tagging system is we'll tag them to match the cow and put their ET mating above, so it'll have the bull, the donor bull, and the donor cow,
and the recipient cow.
We'll have identification at the top. The bottom is the recipient cow or the raiser of the calf. I believe that calf is a rock and roll.
Yeah, one of the short round bulls at the PBR finals. And which surrogate mother or recip cow is that one
Three
with?
is out of the red and white paint, shorthorn mane cross on the other side of the truck there.
Well, I definitely appreciate you spending some time, and excited to get back in there and see, I guess, our flush and
Yes, sir.
see how we turn out. So
We look forward to working with you.
Thanks for spending
Thank
the day
you.
with us, and
bet.
appreciate all your help. Right now I have with me Tim Doherty, which is partnering with me on a lot of the bulls, and especially the biggest event of the year during the regular season is the American Heritage. This is Tim Doherty. Good to visit with you today.
Nice seeing you again.
Well, you know, of course, the first thing you ask, you know, you're a PBR fan and a bull fan. What got you into, I guess, want to be involved in the bucking bull business?
Well, I had some running quarter horses and was familiar with, and I'm very competitive nature-wise, and as a horse race fan and a bull fan, I thought, well, we kind of did the horse thing. Let's try the bulls and see if we can figure out how to make that work. And along with your guidance, we've done reasonably well so far.
Well, I mean, the biggest two events, you know, I'd say the biggest regular season event we have coming up is the American Heritage.
Right.
And we get to watch bull you name, Come On Baby, in there, and then hopefully Las Vegas. I mean, as you progress through the season, how do you feel about the bulls that we started when they were just baby calves?
Well, it started out mainly for recreation, and plus I wanted to try to see how I'm a very hands-on person, want to see how it works, and now I wanted to see how the breeding part of it works now, which you and I are partnering on some stuff on that. But so far, yeah, it's been great.
Well, and I got to say, it's the genetics. You know, I think you coming from the horse business and kind of me growing up on a ranch know how important the genetics are, and how excited I am about the other partnership that I wouldn't have been able to do alone. But we're actually flushing 3 of our very best cows to what me and you decided over the phone, the 3 rankest bulls in the world, which we think are Bushwhacker, Asteroid, and Shepherd Hills tested. I mean, what do you look forward to get out of that?
Well, 2 things. One thing I want to see, can we do it? That'll be, and we won't know that for 3 or 4 years yet. And then also, I want to try, as from a recreation, kind of turn it into a little bit of a business situation also, make it a long-term relationship versus just to come down and watch bulls for a couple of years and then leave. So by the breeding process, we should be able to take this out and just see if we can do it or not. But if we're going to start, let's start with the best.
You don't mind swinging for the fence, do you?
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's go for the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it in the horse racing business for, I don't know how long they've been in business, but for years and years upon years of the lineage of horses. And when they go back through those papers, they find out that Secretariat wasn't a producer. They find out that this horse is a producer. And they start mix matching these mares with these studs, and they start coming up with faster race horses every year. And the bull riding and the bull business is no different. It's been going on for as long, but we have a registry, American Buck and Bull Incorporated, where, well, you have this great bull and I have this great cow. We can combine them, and we may make that next Bushwhacker. And we have the blood and the DNA behind it to prove it, just like the racehorse business. And the more that you can prove and the more you can win, the bigger money comes in. And the sky's really the limit. We sure should have a great American race, or the American heritage we have. Guys win over 100,000. But I really believe that the pedigrees of it are just, we're at the tip of the iceberg, and it's been going on for 35, 40 years.
This bull is bred to buck. His daddy is reindeer dipping. His mama is also bucking bred, and there was no accident that this bull was rank. But this makes his genetics probably some of the most sought after genetics on the trail.
In my opinion, watching these bulls buck that I have over the years, of course, being a part of the PBR from 1998 all the way until right now, still today, watching the bull power grow was just amazing to see. And the reason why it did grow so well is because of the genetics of these bulls. So, you know, Houdini, of course, was a superstar bull that raised so many great calves, but all these different bloodlines that you can go after anymore, it's amazing, you know. You got to have good bulls and good genetics no matter what. But I tell you what, it makes the whole sport that much better, because in racehorse business or bucking bull business, if you don't have good bloodlines on both sides, you're probably not going to have a very good chance to win at something in the future, especially what it's looking like now.
Today's a huge day for McCoy Ranch. Over 60 days ago, 3 cows were hand selected out of our whole herd and crossed 7 days ago with 3 of the best bulls in the world: Bushwhacker, Asteroid, and Shepherd Hills Tested. And today is flush day here at Pro Animal Health, and see just what we're going to get out of our investment.
This is as you can see, a 3-channel catheter. It has an
3-channel meaning?
There's 3 complete channels go all the way down to the tip of this catheter. One is for the air cuff to blow up the balloon to seat it in the horn, so the media doesn't come around behind it, because all of my collection is done on this side of the balloon.
I got you.
All right. So there's the air cuff to blow it up with, which I just did so you can see it. There's the inflow, which I hook up the media, the collection media to input the media into the horn of the cow, and it comes out one tip right here at the end.
Okay.
Then there are 2 ports for exit, and they come out the big hole in the middle.
And that's where you're actually flushing the eggs out of the cow.
And we will collect them in this, which is an 80 micron filter. It has a stainless steel grid on the bottom of it.
How many calves can fit in that one right there?
Oh, a couple million.
I think we got room.
Yeah, we got room. Bucking bull cows are probably the most difficult beef breed that I work with, mainly because they're a high-stressed animal. You know, it's just like working with an antelope. And when you get the flight and fright influences going on in a cow, it causes a lot of hormonal imbalances and steroid release and things like that in the cow system that are not good for fertility and reproduction. They mess up the transport of the semen through the oviduct, they mess up the egg transport down, the ovulations, all the hormones involved get skewed because of the stress levels of the cow. If you can get a calm bucking cow, she's of no value to you. So you're dealing with an animal that's just, you know, essentially needs to be as wild as possible to do her job, but then that's exactly opposite of what I need. And so if we could have one that would have bad calves, but be nice and calm herself, that would be perfect. But that's not in my world. So they as a whole produce much less than a well-mannered, low-stressed animal. Oh, bud. Do right. So I can see a little bit. Plant. Open. Open. Clamp. Normally a cow only has 1 calf a year, and my goal is to get more than that production out of that cow and still let her have 1 calf a year. And to do that, we manipulate her cycle and give fertility drugs to the cow so that more than 1 egg goes to maturity and ovulation during that cycle. We don't do anything fantastic, miraculous, or just to salvage more than she normally would have herself. And so we'll let those fertility drugs do their thing, get a cow into heat, have her release more than 1 egg per cycle that's been bred at the time that she ovulates. And then a week later, we'll take the embryos from that cow and either freeze them for later use or to transfer them into fresh cows today that were synchronized at the same time as the donor was the week before. If I can get 6 transferable embryos per collection that I do, I'm satisfied and the client should be satisfied. Now, where we do them is if the pregnancy rates on a fresh embryo on a well-managed recipient herd, you should get 60% of those pregnant. Anything better than that's gravy. Anything less than that, you need to work on the recipient management. Now, if you're doing frozen embryos, frozen thawed, like the ones that we put up today, you're going to lose about 10% of the pregnancy rates on that. So you can expect 5 out of 10 in a well-managed herd. Okay, so you know if we put in 2 for you today that were fresh, I am expecting at least 1. If we get 2, we've done good and everybody's happy. But of the 2 that I transferred, odds are that we'll get one of them pregnant.
What are we working on right now there?
Loading embryos for the first cow.
Loading embryos.
Uh-huh.
And that's what you stuck one in the...
There's an embryo,
Into
the
your
one that
gun
I
there?
showed you is this
Yep.
exact embryo. Remember
Okay.
how it's loaded?
Yep.
Okay. So now what I want to do is give it multiple covers to keep it clean to get in the uterus.
Okay.
The uterus is a sterile environment. Everything behind that is not. So I want it in the uterus as clean or sterile as I possibly can.
When you're going into something like this, there's no guarantee. It is definitely an investment. And when you're messing with Mother Nature, or even worse, a mother bucking cow, you don't know what you're going to get out of it. You know, having them settle in and get bred and to flush embryos out of them, you know, that are already fertilized, is tricky sometimes. But you know, feel like we rolled the dice to have calves out of this year's PBR World Champion Bucking Bull and last year's PBR World Champion Bucking Bull. Didn't look like we got them today. I talked to Gene Melton at Circle T, and we're going to kind of get another shot at Asteroid. But as crazy as it sounds, I'm pretty dang excited about my 2 Shepherd Hills tested embryos I've got growing in another cow right now. There it is.